You're scrolling late at night, the kind of night where your eyes sting and everything feels quieter than it should. A thumbnail catches your eye. It's grainy, black, and white, and the title isn't helpful. Just 2 words. Sad Satan. It looks like nothing, just another indie horror game, probably, but there's something off. As the footage plays, the walls are stained. The halls are narrow. The music is wrong. Distorted and muffled, like it's coming through a wall you shouldn't be standing next to. The screen pulses. The lights flicker, but nothing chases you. There are no enemies, no story, and yet, you feel like you've seen too much. By the time the original video finished circulating, it had already gathered rumors that it came from the dark web, that people who downloaded it saw things they couldn't explain, and that someone may have created it for a reason we were never meant to understand. No one knew where it came from, no one knew how to find it, and no one, not even the creator, would ever fully explain it. But one thing was clear, this wasn't just a game, it was something much darker. Something that felt alive in all the worst ways, and once you entered its world, it didn't feel like you were meant to leave. Tonight we're going to look at the disturbing mystery of Sad Satan, where it came from, what was hidden inside it, and why so many people believe it shouldn't have been seen at all. Because even after all these years, no one has ever truly solved it, and no one knows who made it. But the more you look into Sad Satan, the more it starts to feel like it wasn't made to be played. It was made to be experienced, to be endured, and maybe, just maybe, to hurt the people that found it. The story of Sad Satan begins in June of 2015. A YouTube channel known as Obscure Horror Corner uploaded a video titled Sad Satan. At first glance, it looked like another small playthrough from a channel dedicated to weird, lesser-known horror titles. But this wasn't like the others. From the very first frame, viewers could tell something was different. The footage was claustrophobic, dimly lit corridors, heavy shadows, unsettling audio loops that didn't feel like sound effects so much as artifacts pulled from nightmares. The uploader, known only by his first name, Jamie, explained in the video's description that the game had come from a dark web link. Supposedly, a subscriber had contacted him privately and shared a download source. And this detail is where everything begins to spiral. Jamie claimed that the game was only accessible through Tor, the browser most commonly associated with the dark web. The file, according to him, came from a hidden service link that no longer worked. Right away, this gave the game an aura of danger and mystery. The dark web has long been a breeding ground for modern myths. Red rooms, hitmen for hire, black markets, and attaching Sad Satan to that world instantly elevated it from creepy indie game to potential digital curse. But there was a problem. No one else could find the link. No screenshots, no archives, no mere uploads. Nothing. All anyone had was the footage from Obscure Horror Corner, and for the next several weeks, that's all people would have to go on. Despite the lack of proof, the video gained traction pretty quickly. Horror forums, Reddit threads, and even mainstream gaming outlets started covering it. Some described it as just another piece of internet horror, the kind of thing designed to spark rumors. Others weren't so sure. The footage contained unsettling imagery that didn't feel like it belonged in a game. Photographs of real-world figures flash across the screen. Distorted speech laid over static. Symbols were etched into the environment. It wasn't just creepy, it was wrong. And the way Obscure Horror Corner presented it, with little explanation, no download link, and vague claims about its origins, only added fuel to that fire. Not long after the first upload, a link claiming to be Sad Satan began circulating, but when users downloaded it, they discovered something horrifying. Instead of a strange atmospheric game shown in Jamie's videos, this version contained graphic and illegal matter. Images involving child exploitation and extreme violence. The gaming community quickly realized this wasn't the same build. The content was too overt, too explicit, and far removed from what had been shown. The original Sad Satan was disturbing, yes, but in an atmospheric and psychological way. This version was something else entirely. Jamie himself addressed the controversy, insisting that the version that he played did not contain that material. He suggested that someone else had uploaded a quote-unquote corrupted or fake version to tarnish the story. But because the original file was never shared, no one could confirm what he had claimed. The community split. Some believed him, and others didn't. And the line between truth and fabrication began to blur. During the weeks following the upload, Obscure Horror Corner continued posting sporadic updates and additional gameplay clips. Each one deepened the mystery, always filled with looping, oppressive music, sudden jumps to images of famous serial killers, and disturbing soundbites layered under static. And then, silence. The channel stopped uploading without warning. No explanation. No closure, just disappearance. This left Sad Satan stranded in an unsettling limbo. A game that supposedly came from the dark web, that either didn't exist or had been replaced with something horrifying, and a creator who no longer wanted to talk about it. And for years, that was all anyone had. To understand why Sad Satan hit so hard in 2015, you have to look at the cultural backdrop. This was the height of creepypasta's golden age. Stories like Slender Man, Ben Drowned, and Jeff the Killer had already embedded themselves into online horror. Games and haunted media became a genre of their own. People were hungry for the next mystery, the next piece of media that blurred the line between fiction and reality. And Sad Satan was a perfect storm. It had all the ingredients: mysterious, unverified dark web origin, creepy atmospheric gameplay footage, a sudden wave of community speculation, and just enough real-world controversy to make it feel dangerous. While plenty of internet horror stories rise and fade, Sad Satan lingered because of its ambiguity. If Jamie had simply uploaded the file, people might have dismissed it as a bad indie project. But because the source remained hidden, every detail became a point of obsession. The name itself, Sad Satan, felt like something you weren't supposed to say out loud. The fact that the game existed, but only in glimpses, gave it weight. It allowed people to imagine what might be inside, what else might be hidden, and whether the uploader was telling the truth at all. And the longer the mystery went unsolved, the more people started to believe that Sad Satan wasn't just a game, it was a message. By the time 2016 rolled around, Sad Satan had cemented itself as one of the internet's most unsettling mysteries. A dark web artifact, a cursed file, a game that felt alive in ways that most horror titles could never achieve. But what exactly was inside it? What did players see when they navigated its shifting, suffocating corridors? And why did so many people believe that it wasn't meant to be played in the first place? When people talk about Sad Satan, they usually start with its origins, the dark web, the fake links, the controversy around its existence. But the most disturbing thing about the game isn't where it came from, it's what's inside it. The gameplay itself is deceptively simple. There's no menu, no tutorial. You aren't given a story, an objective, or even a reason for being there. You're just dropped into a series of dark, narrow corridors. The walls made of dirty textures, stained with grime, and lit by flickering bulbs that cast more shadows than light. At first glance, it looked like an amateur indie project. Rough, unfinished, almost careless in its design. But the longer you watch, the more it starts to feel intentional. The hallways twist and bend in ways that don't make sense. Doors lead to nowhere. Some paths look back into themselves, as if the game doesn't want you to escape. It feels less like a level to be played and more like a maze designed to trap you. What made the corridors so unbearable wasn't the visuals, though, it was the sound. From the moment the game begins, you're assaulted by distorted audio loops, fragments of speech, static, and high-pitched tones that seem to cut in and out without warning. Sometimes a faint voice can be heard under the noise, a man speaking words that are difficult to make out. At other times, the audio becomes oppressive, the wall of distorted sound that drowns everything else out. Unlike traditional horror games, there's no release, no quiet moment where the player can breathe. The sound design feels like punishment, something that was never meant to be comfortable. And it isn't just the noise. Scattered throughout the game are backward sound clips, and words that, when reversed, contain disturbing and sometimes politically charged messages, snippets of speeches, mentions of violence, and even fragments connected to real-world tragedies. The game isn't just trying to scare you, it's trying to disturb you on a subconscious level. Throughout the corridors, the game occasionally interrupts the player's view with flashes. Black and white photographs of historical figures, infamous criminals, political leaders, and at times, images too graphic to describe in detail. They don't appear for long, just for a second or two before vanishing back into the darkness. But their presence changes everything. This isn't just a haunted house simulator. It isn't random. The choices feel deliberate, as if the person behind Sad Satan wasn't trying to create an entertaining horror experience, but was trying to send a message. One stitched together from fragments of violence, trauma, and cultural decay. Occasionally, in the endless corridors, you'll encounter children, pale, silent, wandering aimlessly. They don't speak, they don't chase you, they don't even acknowledge your presence, but when touched, they hurt you. Every time the player's character comes into contact with one of these children, a sound effect plays and health is drained. No explanation is given, no lore, just the fact that in this world, children are not safe companions. They're something else entirely. This detail, more than any other, cemented Sad Satan as something beyond a normal horror game. The presence of children, placed in a hostile and disturbing environment, turned an already eerie experience into something deeply uncomfortable and disturbing. There are no traditional enemies. Nothing haunts you. Nothing stalks you from the shadows. There is no end. No win state. No clear path forward. You simply wander. The game allows you to move endlessly deeper into the corridors that loop, twist, and suffocate the player. The only change is the audio, which seems to intensify the longer you stay inside. This lack of structure gives Sad Satan its power. Horror games usually rely on goals to keep the player moving, but here, there's nothing to achieve. The only option is to endure. And for many viewers, that was far worse. In Obscure Horror Corner's uploads, several moments stand out. In one clip, the player wanders into a hallway where the walls are plastered with distorted textures resembling faces that are screaming, crying, shifting in and out of shape. In another, a black and white photo of a notorious political figure fills the screen, accompanied by static and backwards speech. And at one point, the music cuts entirely, leaving only the sound of footsteps. The silence lasts long enough that when the audio finally returns, it feels unbearable. And scattered throughout all of it, those children, walking slowly and wandering in silence. It gave the impression that the game wasn't simply random, it was curated. Each element chosen to provoke not just fear, but a specific kind of dread. Those who watched the original uploads reported feeling more than just unease. Some described headaches, others said that audio made them feel nauseous. A few even admitted to turning off the video partway through, not because of the jump scares, but because of how oppressive it felt. This becomes a core part of Sad Satan's legend, that the game itself was designed to harm the player. Not physically, but psychologically, to wear them down until they couldn't continue. Unlike traditional horror, which thrives on monsters, gore, and adrenaline, Sad Satan seemed to weaponize discomfort. Its goal wasn't to entertain, it was to exhaust, to grind down, to make the player feel as if they had truly entered a place that they weren't meant to be. Some tried to compare Sad Satan to other experimental horror titles, games like LSD Dream Emulator or early prototypes of Silent Hill PT, but the comparison never held up. Where those games felt surreal, Sad Satan felt malicious. It didn't feel like an attempt at art or atmosphere. It felt like someone had built a maze of pain, stocked it with unsettling imagery, and left behind for strangers to stumble into. Obscure Horror Corner's footage never showed a final scene, a cutscene, or credits, and without a downloadable copy of the game, no one could attempt to verify if such an ending existed. For all we know, Sad Satan has no ending. It's not a story to be finished, it's an experience to be trapped inside. The result of all this is simple. Sad Satan isn't remembered for its gameplay, it isn't remembered for its visuals or mechanics. It's remembered for how it made people feel. And for many, that feeling was worse than fear. It was a sense that this wasn't a game at all. It was a message, one written in static, shadows, and silence. A message that still hasn't been decoded. And that's really where the question starts to form. Who would make something like this? A game so primitive in appearance, yet so deliberately unsettling, couldn't have just appeared out of nowhere. Someone sat down and built this. Someone stitched together those distorted screams, corrupted textures, and Nazi images. Someone made the choice to leave it unfinished, and then let it slip into the hands of one YouTuber. The problem is, no one can agree on who that someone is. The first and most obvious suspect has always been the channel that introduced it to the world, Obscure Horror Corner. He was the only person who had access to the game. He was the only one who claimed to receive it from the so-called deep web, and he was the only one who ever uploaded footage that looked authentic. Almost immediately, this raised eyebrows. If the game was real, why did no one else ever manage to track it down? Why didn't anyone else who scoured the dark web find another copy? Why was there no evidence of Sad Satan existing before OHC's video suddenly appeared? When pressed about this, OHC gave vague answers. He claimed that someone sent him a link, but he could never provide proof. He never revealed the sender's identity, and as more people asked questions, he simply stopped uploading. This left some convinced that Sad Satan was nothing more than an elaborate hoax, a piece of creepypasta dressed up as reality. But others believed the opposite, that OHC was telling the truth, and that he simply got caught up in something he didn't understand. And then, a different name began circulating online. If you dig deep enough through the communities that still discuss Sad Satan, you'll find one name that comes up again and again: Gary Graves. According to scattered posts and threads, Gary Graves was a small-time developer who had worked on underground horror projects. The rumor goes that Graves was later arrested, allegedly on charges related to child porn, and that his criminal history lined up suspiciously with the imagery buried in Sad Satan. Some online sleuths claim this connection is too strong to ignore. They point to Graves' supposed interest in disturbing content, his proximity to niche game development circles, and the timeline of his arrest. The implication is clear. Sad Satan may have been his creation, a twisted project abandoned after he was caught for far darker reasons. But here's where things get murky. Unlike other internet mysteries where accusations have concrete backing, the Graves theory is mostly whispers. There are forum posts, screenshots, and supposed insider knowledge, but very little in way of verifiable evidence. The arrest is real. His criminal record is public, but the actual link between him and Sad Satan, that part has never been proven. Some argue that the connection only exists because people wanted a convenient villain to pin the game on. A criminal already convicted on horrifying charges makes an easy scapegoat. And in the absence of answers, attaching his name to the story gave Sad Satan another layer of dread. But the lack of proof doesn't stop the theory from spreading. In fact, it became one of the most enduring explanations. If Graves didn't make the game, then why does his name keep resurfacing? Why does he remain the most believable suspect, even after a decade of speculation? Of course, not everyone believes Graves is the answer. Some suggest that Sad Satan was the work of an anonymous developer who wanted to create something experimental and disturbing, a game designed to mimic the feeling of wandering in something you were never supposed to see. When the footage went viral, they vanished, unwilling to face the attention that followed. Others believe OHC himself was behind the whole thing, that he built the game in secret, presented it as a dark web discovery, and then abandoned the ruse after it spiraled out of control. His refusal to answer questions only fuels this idea. After all, what better way to make your channel stand out than to claim you found a haunted game on the deep web? There's even a theory that Sad Satan was created by multiple people, a kind of underground collaboration. In this version, OHC wasn't lying about receiving the game, but the person who sent it to him never intended for it to spread further. When it did, they cut all ties, leaving OHC as the only visible face connected to it. The truth is, no one knows for sure who created Sad Satan. The people who may have been responsible for it have either disappeared, gone silent, or, in Graves' case, had their lives collapse in ways that prevent any direct confirmation. And that silence is exactly what makes the mystery endure. If Sad Satan was fake, then someone out there is still sitting on source code, never coming forward to admit it. If it was real, then the creator made something disturbing enough to leave a permanent scar on the internet, and then vanished before they could ever be identified. Either way, it leaves behind the same haunting question: was Sad Satan just another creepypasta hoax, or the unfinished project of someone whose own darkness bled into their work? When Sad Satan first resurfaced, it didn't take long for the wider internet to react. Threads lit up across Reddit, YouTube, and creepypasta forums, all speculating about the game's origins and purpose. Some called it a disturbing art project. Others insisted it was a cover for something darker, an actual tool used by predators to lure people into more dangerous corners of the internet. But what's striking is that the game itself has almost no legacy in the traditional gaming sense. Unlike other horror games that inspired communities like Slender Man or Five Nights at Freddy's, Sad Satan inspired paranoia. And that paranoia wasn't without fuel. As we discussed earlier, some builds of the game contained images that went far beyond shock value. Disturbing photos of abuse, mutilation, and even content that authorities classify as criminal. The debate has raged for years. Were those images a part of the real Sad Satan, or were they injected into later versions by trolls trying to heighten the myth? And the truth is, we still don't know. This ambiguity has become its most defining feature. If you go searching for Sad Satan today, you'll find download links that lead to broken files, message boards warning you not to click, and entire videos debating which version is authentic. And that's what makes the story so uniquely terrifying. It's not just about what's inside the game, it's about never knowing which download is safe and which one might drag you deeper than you intended to ever go. The name Gary Graves surfaces often in these conversations, paired with rumors of his criminal past. As I explored earlier, there are threads of evidence connecting him to the game, but nothing definitive. If the creator really was someone like Graves, then the game wasn't just an experiment in internet horror. It was something with roots in actual criminality, created by a man who lived and breathed that kind of darkness. But if it wasn't him, if it really was just a random hoax by an anonymous forum poster, then Sad Satan becomes even more sinister, because it means that this was a game designed for no other reason than to spread fear, disgust, and confusion, with no tangible motive beyond chaos itself. Over time, Sad Satan has become less of a game and more of a mirror. It reflects our deepest fears about the internet, that there are places we're not supposed to go, files we're not supposed to open, and people we're not supposed to trust. It plays on the idea that curiosity can be dangerous, that every single click can open a door you can't close. And unlike other lost media, Sad Satan doesn't offer resolution. There's no definitive version, no archived build. Every piece of evidence leads to another dead end, another half-truth, another contradictory claim.